Hello, my name is Fraser Nash, and today I'm in West Stow to look at a medieval village which relates to our game Medieval Dynasty by Toppit's Production. I have a guest here who's going to explain all about what's happening here and why they built it, why it's at this location, and the kind of things that actually happened here, such as sleeping accommodation and food, pigs, and basically family, because that's all important. And this is Alan Baxter. How you doing, man? Oh,
good.
The new way of meeting. So, this is your village behind us, and I've got to say, it looks very impressive.
It's a great place. It's built on an actual site of an Anglo-Saxon village, and it helps to tell us a great deal about how these early Anglo-Saxons lived.
I believe this Anglo-Saxon site was about 640 or something like that it was started?
Yeah, it's very, very early, about 420 AD it started, and then it finished about 620, something like that.
I did forget to mention, you have come dressed.
Yes.
To which, as I clearly now feel underdressed because I've got pretty much like modern clothes on, and this is very dressed of the style, I guess.
This is what an ordinary Anglo-Saxon man would have worn, and this is his spear, his badge that he's a free man and not a slave. So I'm dressed as an ordinary Anglo-Saxon. So why did the Anglo-Saxons come here to West Stow? Well, a lot of people think that they carved a space for their village out of virgin forest, but this picture shows that that's not really the case. The Romans had lived here for 200–300 years, and the Anglo-Saxons came up the rivers and they found a place perfect for them to take over, ideal for farmland. And here on this hill by the river they built two groups of houses, and those houses, as you can see, each are grouped around a hall, and they all face south because that's where the light and the warmth come from. And they buried their dead in a cemetery over here outside the village.
In our game, there is elements in this game where you have to build things, and because basically you have to make it yourself or get somebody else to make it, because it's the only way to survive. We didn't have machinery and stuff like this. We would have stuff like this, looms. But I was trying to work out what the weights were on the bottom.
Well, the Anglo-Saxon loom weights are very distinctive. They look like clay donuts, and you can see them here. And they were very important in the critical evidence that we had for how these buildings actually looked. What the archaeologists found collapsed in the bottom of the pit was a layer of charred planks, and then on top of that layer of charred planks was a layer of loom weights, just like those ones there, and then on top of that was another layer of charred planks. So they think that the top layer of charred planks was the wall, the loom weights represented a series of looms for weaving in, and they rested, and this is the critical bit, on another layer of planks which was the suspended floor above the pit. So here we are outside the hall, the communal building, and there's this special plaque above one of the two doors, and it shows die plates that we found here at West Stow. Here's one and there's the other. Now a die plate is a pattern which you put thin pieces of metal over the top and can create lots of copies of. And you'll notice that both of them have dragons on, and that shows us something about the thinking of the Anglo-Saxons. They really believed in dragons and the power of the natural world. And across the bottom are Anglo-Saxon runes, and I can read those for you. And it says, "The friends of West Stow had this," that's the only word I know that's the same in runes and in English, "had this board made to mark 25 years. And if you want to hear what Anglo-Saxon sounds like, it sounds like this. Ich thawichte Yseach, one wason hinder.
We were talking just before we came in here, and you told me a beautiful piece of poetry.
Yes.
Which I think whilst we're in here, and it's a place about storytelling and about people getting together and eating food and listening to stories, let's hear that piece of poetry again.
Okay, well this is from Bede, the Venerable Bede, and this is an ideal place to tell this little story. And it was his description of how the Anglo-Saxons thought of life. and he described it like the flight of a sparrow at night time. And he said the sparrow is flying in darkness, and then the sparrow briefly flies in through the smoke hole, and then all of a sudden he's in light and laughter and warmth and happiness, and then all too soon he flies back into the darkness.
So we're in the living quarters, and just like in our game, it's got the chest in the corner. And what you were saying in here, though, this is where they would keep wood and bits and pieces, yes?
They'd keep all sorts of valuables in there, not necessarily wood.
Oh, so with the chest idea, as in with our game, is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, we've got the fire, but our fire is over in the corner.
Okay.
And in this one, it's in the centre. And that's because the beds are basically, there's a bed behind us, and then there's a bed in that corner, which is very much like our game.
The one thing that we do know is that quite often the middle area was kept open because that's how people come in and out of the building. But exactly what it was like inside the houses, we're still not sure.
So in our game, we do have pigs, which you manage, and we have cows and geese, and we hunt rabbits. And before we were talking about the amount of bones that you'd found around here, and this also is the pigsty.
Yes, that's right. This is our modern pig house where we normally keep the pigs in here, but we haven't got any here at the moment. Now, pigs are really important at Westow because the archaeologists have found that they were the first animals that were brought over by the Anglo-Saxons when they came here. But very quickly, the Anglo-Saxons developed sheep, obviously for weaving, as we've talked about, but what they were after is cattle, because cattle provide more meat, more bone, more hide. So over time, they developed from pigs through to sheep and then to cattle. So they developed the whole animal husbandry.